What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And today we have our final collaboration mock draft for the year with my buddy James Foster from A to Z Sports. James, say hi to the people.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So we're going to be going just one round, a little bit of hybrid between what we want to do, but also got to keep it realistic and predictive because, the draft's a couple of days away. But we're all going to get this wrong anyways. Might as well have a little bit of a personal touch on it. I'm going to be taking the odds. My boy James here is going to be taking the evens. We have not discussed or we have not officially done a trade yet with Minnesota. So that's going to be something that is a little bit new compared to the other collaborative mock drafts. But let's get right into this. Not going to waste our time here. The number one pick for the Chicago Bears is going to be Caleb Williams. I'm going to just allow it to stay at that because there's no real reason to overanalyze a pick. That's guaranteed.
All right, so number 2, this is where I'm really gonna take that hybrid element to heart and go with Drake May at number 2. I'm gonna hold out hope that the Commanders, it's all a bluff. They actually like Drake May. Okay. Based on the way people are talking about him, it seems like he could potentially fall to like 11 or something, but I don't know. It doesn't really match up with the tape to me. I feel like his rawness and the development that he needs is a little bit overblown. Definitely not a perfect prospect, but I feel a lot more confident in him than Jaden Daniels.
So I'm curious because right now I'm on the middle of Drake May. I think we kind of hear both sides of like the extremes where people think Drake May is as good, if not better than Caleb. And then the people who don't think Drake May is a good quarterback at all. I'm in between where I totally see the value in what Drake May could become, but I also do see the inefficiencies, the inconsistencies, and then, the footwork needs a bit of work. But I mean, I think that it's a very logical discussion based on where your team should be focused on going as to whether you go Drake or Jaden, because Jaden's, in my opinion, is just a better day one quarterback because he'll use his legs. But if you want somebody to be there past that second contract, I think Drake May is the higher potential option for that. And, we talked about it, like Justin Herbert is a relatively understandable comp for Drake May in terms of that projection. What's your comp for him?
Jordan Love. I do multiple comps. My 3 comps for Drake May are Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert. And yeah, I actually I'm kind of a Drake May extremist because I do have him as my number 1 overall player. And for me, the real debate is Drake May versus Caleb Williams. The way that I see it is like Drake May has the accuracy issues, which I think are partially based on the fact that he's targeting a lot more tight windows further down the field than some of these other quarterbacks. So it's a more difficult sample of throws. Sure. But then also, like, to me, the real egregious thing with Drake May is the short accuracy and just like the lazy footwork on, dump off to a swing pass. Yeah. And then as far as like decision making and, throwing some bad turnovers or whatever, I think it's an imperfection in Drake May's game, just like it is with Caleb Williams. But for me, that's not something that's really negatively affecting my grade for either of them. I would obviously you'd rather them make the perfect decision every time. But it's like if Caleb Williams makes 8 jaw-dropping throws and then on the 9th one, he doesn't see a safety and like throws an interception, it's like, whatever, I'll live with that. I would rather you have that, out of structure playmaking instinct. But for me, what sets Drake May ahead of Caleb Williams is that he's about 3 inches taller, and Caleb Williams has some really concerning fumble issues for me. And then I think Caleb Williams also, has shown the ability to attack the middle of the field, but for someone where we're projecting that he's going to have to do that a lot more often, for a shorter quarterback that, I have some concerns about him seeing overcrowded pockets and attacking the middle of the field, whereas I don't really with Drake May. So yeah, for me, it's like I have basically identical grades on May and Williams, but I bumped May up 0.03 just so I wasn't fence sitting.
I respect that. You know what? As a guy who once had Isaiah McGuire and his top 3 as a complete moron. I cannot shame you at all for doing something that requires cojones. So props to you on that one. At pick number 3 for the Patriots, I would have went Drake May here. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of what the quarterback selections are for the Patriots. I either would go JJ McCarthy or trade out. And I have Jaden Daniels higher than JJ McCarthy. So I think that I want to put either Jaden or JJ in the proper scenario. And you could veto this because, I mean, I have the ability to veto anything on every one of my mock drafts. But I think this is a location where I feel comfortable moving back with the Patriots. What do you think?
Yeah, with the Vikings?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
I
good
mean,
with that.
technically it's my pick, but I don't want to be a dick. It's like you might as well have a little bit of fun.
Hey, you have control of both picks. You can
I
you can do
do.
if you want.
I do. It's just still entertaining to toss it in there. Like, honestly, for the Patriots fans, they can end up rejoicing and getting that future first. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect the mock draft. So, feast your eyes for the Patriots fans, avert them for the Vikings fans. We'll do a 3 trade up. And then for the Vikings, I do think that JJ McCarthy might be the better option for them. Now, you could say, hey, we could have waited a little bit longer, but I was trading that pick regardless. I think that that is the more important thing to focus on. And JJ, I actually work with somebody who is a former D1 quarterback, and he was describing why he loved JJ arguably as much as the top 2 guys. And essentially is that you can play within the system, keep the offense running. He's not going to be the reason the offense clogs up, so to speak. He makes sure that they stay in rhythm. Then he does have the high end potential to make those big time throws. With Jaden Daniels having issues processing over the middle, or maybe not issues, but more reliance on his feet over middle of the field processing, I want somebody who could maximize Addison, Jefferson over the middle. And I think JJ McCarthy is a little bit more of that logical option. And I trust JJ to stay a little bit healthier than our buddy here in Jaden.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. Cardinals at 4. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go chalk here and go with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
To me, I just have far fewer concerns. Not that I really have concerns with either of the top 3 prospects, but to me, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s issues are like areas of his game where he might not be elite. Whereas I think like Malik Neighbors, there is a chance that he gets to the NFL and struggles a little bit with press coverage.
Sure.
Adunze tested pretty well, but there are times that he's doesn't look that explosive on tape and struggles to pull away down the sideline, which you would want to see in the Pac-12 because we're seeing other Pac-12 receivers do it. Really like all 3 of those prospects, but to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a pretty comfortable wide receiver 1.
See, I love that you bring that up is for Rome Odunze, the difference between play speed and tested speed, because that's why the combine doesn't matter significantly unless there's an egregious difference between play speed and, what the tested speed was, is that guys, when they put their pads on and when they're playing football, are not in t-shirt and shorts and running in a straight line. Like there is a big difference between what happens when you're actually playing the game of football and when you're trying to show out as the best athlete possible. At least it's good to see the potential there, but I did see that as well. For the Chargers, if they were not in the same division, I would be calling up with the Raiders right now because I have a hard on for storylines and I love Antonio Pierce going back with Jaden Daniels, but I think the Chargers don't really have the viable, suitable options for a trade back that I'd feel comfortable with at the moment. So I think I'm just going to go with the guy who complements the potential future of Quentin Johnston, praying to God it works, and that is Malik Neighbors. He was shopping for some real estate there in Los Angeles. Hopefully that is not for nothing because LA traffic is awful, and I would hate for him to had to go around in that just to find a house that he will never buy. Pick number 6.
Makes sense. All right. So the Giants, Rome Odunze, I guess, is the first thing. Well, no, wait. Jaden Daniels is still on the board, right?
He is.
Yeah. Okay. For the Giants, I'm going with Jaden Daniels.
All right.
Just don't see any upside with Daniel Jones at this point. Could be nice to add another receiver or maybe a tackle and move Evan Neal into guard. But I think that, Jaden Daniels, he has his issues in terms of build, and there's not a huge sample size of him attacking the middle of the field. I did think he showed some nice anticipation on some in-breaking routes, even though it
Sure.
was a little bit more limited in terms of just how often it happens. But yeah, I mean, I the way you said you're kind of like a Drake May centrist, that's how I am with Jaden Daniels. It's like it seems like every ESPN person on TV has him as like their number one player in the class.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all, but I also think he's much better than in the 20s. So going with Jaden Daniels.
See, I like Jaden because he's actually my QB too. I know it sounds insane, but he's actually in my 20s. Like I'm just not. It's not because I think that he is. I mean, to be fair, right now I'm factoring in something like I'm factoring positional value because I have an analytical scale. So I'm actually trying to stay true to my grades rather than, give somebody a grade and then put them completely elsewhere on my board. So I'm factoring in positional value. But when it comes to this class, there's just a lot of players I ended up falling in love with, especially out of position. So guys like Jordan Morgan, I love him as a guard. And we were the ones talking about him being a guard, right? Like, I know that we were talking about the potential of it. I know Marcus was saying he's a pure tackle, but
I can't remember. I definitely do view him as a guard though.
yeah, because it was actually at was it Haberdecker? Like, I think that was one of our first conversations was talking about Jordan Morgan transitioning to guard. So it all comes around that way. But I ended up really falling in love with the potential of that. So there's just certain players that I ended up vaulting above the quarterbacks because I'm more passionate about them. Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Yep.
But for the Tennessee Titans, let's not waste any time here. We got Joe Alt on the board. It's the perfect pairing to Peter Skoronski. I'll just leave it up to you at pick 8.
Yeah, pick 8. Like honestly, if we were just purely doing what I would do, I would take Roma Dunze and just live with the defense being bad, and like just try to have a kick-ass offense. But
the NFL humbles us every year when we think what should happen. Granted, they also humble us when we do what we want to do. But
yeah, I think that for the Falcons, I'm gonna go with Byron Murphy out of Texas.
I did hear that this was the ceiling for him. Curious about that.
Hearing that it's possible to actually happen, and the fact that if we're going defense, Byron Murphy is my top defensive player in this class. I think that there's like the upside with Dallas Turner is sky high, but I do think that there's some major development that needs to happen. The corner class, I really like them more as late teens type of players. And so, yeah, to me, Byron Murphy sticks out as the best defensive player.
Nice. I mean, I'm a big Terry Arnold guy, so I have him really sky high, and then obviously Dallas Turner. So Byron Murphy's he's technically my 4th defender, but I also am a sucker for corners. Shoot me. But Byron Murphy is my number 8 player in the class. So I totally agree. I'm a big fan of what he can bring to the table. And I do think the defense interior class is relatively underwhelming. So you're getting a very quality player when edge rusher, I trust Raheem Morris to get value out of his dudes. And then corner, I do think the class is pretty damn stacked. So, I mean, I never done that pick, but I could totally see the validity in doing so. But at pick 9, I'm getting the easy ones. I'm getting the layups here. If Roma Dunze is here, it makes sense. Keenan Allen's probably going to be there for one more year. Essentially, you're still looking for that future at wide receiver too. And Roma Dunze is great value for it too.
That makes total sense. It's about the dream scenario for the Bears.
Yeah.
So at 10, I don't personally buy Brock Bowers to the Jets.
Okay.
I'm a lot more interested in going with the tackle. I think that
speaking my language,
Fautanu, Fuanga, Latham, and Fashanu, I could honestly see at 10.
Right.
JC Latham is my top ranked tackle available.
I saw that. I'm
And I
curious
think
though.
I'm gonna go with JC Latham.
You can go JC.
Let's stick with my board. I think that's, within the realm of possibility. So yeah, we'll go Latham.
I'm gonna be honest, the more I've thought about it logically, I've come down for the Jets to JC Latham and Fashanu. And my hot take is that year one, Latham, Fawaga, Fautanu might end up being guards. Because I think Tolly does have some struggles in terms of length usage. And JC, I thought he sometimes had deer in the headlights look. I loved his game for the fact that he graded out so highly, even with the deer in headlights looks at points. That says a lot. And I think JC might end up being my favorite for the Jets because you have great mentorship from veterans there. And I think it's that missing piece to where JC could actually be his best self. Because there's a lot of people who say JC will be a bust and should be a guard instead. I think in the short run, that might be true, but this might be his best situation for him to truly develop into the talent he is. So I like that. See?
Betting on an Alabama tackle. What could go wrong?
Amen to that, brother. Pick 11. So Patriots, we're here. I could debate on going Brock Bowers here just for best player available. At the end of the day, you can get someone who's truly dynamic and electric, but I want to fix that left tackle spot. I think Fashanu gets a little bit of a short end of the stick. If he's available potentially as a legitimate option at pick 10, I sure as hell believe he should be one at pick 11 as well. And I would be perfectly fine at testing out the waters on, the quarterbacks later on rather than having to force one right at the moment. So I am going to go after Fashanu here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trading down at 11 for the Patriots, like you're kind of committing to stocking the cupboard for next year's quarterback, basically. Like,
Right.
yeah, I don't think trading down, collecting value, and then drafting like Bo Nix or something makes sense.
Yeah.
So the Broncos at 12, yeah, Broncos are a team that I could just see going in so many different directions because, I mean, they have needs all over the place.
Do you think it's a good spot for a trade down realistically?
Yes, because they are lacking in draft capital. Can you scroll down the teams a little bit? Let's see who would trade up potentially.
I'm a sucker for a Philly trade up. I'm gonna be honest. What are your thoughts? Wait, what's your ranking on the corner? The top two guys, Mitchell and Arnold. Which one do you have first?
So I have Mitchell is 18th on my board. I've got Arnold at 20th and Nate Wiggins at 21.
Ooh, that's a tight group right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no one sticking out to me really that is like a surefire trade up option.
Okay.
Who needs a defense? What if we did Bengals? What if we did Bengals trading up
for Brock?
I don't think Johnny Newton's going to go this high though, because I'm thinking about where is there like there's really only one first round caliber defensive tackle left, and if you really need one, but I do feel like this is a little rich for it. I'm just going to stick and pick for the Broncos.
Ooh,
I'm going to go with Dallas Turner.
Okay.
I think definitely the highest upside of any edge in this class. Wins with a long arm, bull rush, speed to power. He's got an almost unblockable inside counter, but for as much speed as he has, he doesn't really have a go-to way of winning with his hands around the edge at this point. So like that's the main thing that I think he needs to develop to really become a complete pass rusher. But he's got the length to do it. He's got the first step, really has everything except a little bit of technical polish at this point.
I mean, he's my number 4 player, so I'm obviously going to think that's really damn good value. But pick 13 with the Vegas Raiders. Quarterback is an option here, but I mean, I just don't see. I don't know why you would bring in. I know Gardner Minshew shouldn't change your plans on a franchise quarterback, but I don't know why you'd overcrowd a quarterback room with mediocrity if you're going to bring in somebody who technically isn't a massive mover of the sticks, so to speak. I like Bo Nix a lot, but I do see so much more value in building up a team first and bringing in a quarterback because I just think that's an easier transition. So I'm actually going to go Tali Fawaga here. Whether he starts at right tackle or right guard, it doesn't matter. You're getting an asset, you're getting an upgrade, and you win games through being able to win at the line of scrimmage. And I think Talifuaga is going to be a 10 to 15 year minimum pro.
10 years minimum?
Oh, yeah. If he kicks in a guard, dude, I've been on record saying he will be a Hall of Fame guard. Yes, I know that's insane.
No, yeah, his upside at guard, I love
wild.
Fuaga as a guard. I'm with you.
Yes.
So the Saints need a tackle because Ramczyk is probably done, and the Northern Iowa guy can't play at all.
Yeah,
so
both of them should be done.
Yeah, they both can't play in different ways. So I'm thinking about Fautanu and Mims.
Yep.
This is one where I'm personally a lot higher on Mims than Fautanu, but I think the NFL would probably be higher on Fautanu. So I'll go with him at 14.
So yeah, and you go first. I have a theory.
What did you say? Sorry.
I said you go first. I'll spew my monologue about my theory in a second.
So my thing with Troy Fautanu is I think the biggest area that he struggles is with bull rushes. You know, he's able to use that snatch trap technique when players get into his frame, but if he isn't able to pull that off, which it's going to be a lot more difficult to against, you know, big NFL edge rushers than whoever they got at Stanford, you're going to have to just like eat a bull rush. And I don't know that I'm that confident he can do that. And if there's a player that I worry about their anchor, I have some hesitancies about moving them into guard. So I do think Fautanu is a tackle that I have some concerns about.
Okay. I mean, I also have those concerns with him in terms of his anchor, but that's primarily is the anchor. So I'm curious because I wanted to be an Amarius Mims fanboy. Because, I mean, I'm a Steelers fan. Most of the mocks will have Amarius Mims going to the Steelers if he's there. And he pairs up with Broderick Jones, ended up looking dynamite in his first start there versus Ohio State in the playoffs. Like, you know, dude has like a 25-inch waist for being 300,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So
it looks like he's got his belt like fully just fastened as tightly as possible. Like it's an insane.
He has a corset on. Like,
yeah.
wearing a corset playing football. Yep. I did come up with this one issue for him, though. It pertains to his kick slide being so damn slow. I don't know why, but I saw him taking one step for every 2 to 3 that the edge rushers did. And I saw him get beat so many times with counters because his feet weren't responsive enough. I don't know if you saw that in yours, but I did see the strength and the physicality and, you know, the ability he's an athletic dude to be able to make up for it. But I saw too many pockets where he essentially abandoned his position because he basically let up too much of an inside gap. And then he was too slow to be able to redirect them in time.
So for Mims, like I didn't notice any issues as far as getting depth in the pocket.
Yeah.
But by far the biggest issue with Amarius Mims is inside counters. Like,
yes,
that's where basically all of his losses came. Watching him move, I think he has the athletic traits and like slide quickness to learn to be better against inside counters. I think it's more of a reaction time thing than an athletic limitation.
Okay.
But no, I totally agree with you. Like, at least in pass pro, that is the one thing that sticks out as like the one glaring weakness. I think based on last year's tape, there were times he was, or like in the 2022 tape, there were times he was a little bit high with his punch, but I felt like he tightened up his hand placement last year. And, you know, overall for me, it's really just the uncertainty of like the small sample size. Can he stay healthy? All that kind of stuff that has Mims. Like, if we got a full season of this from Amarius Mims and he was just like a normal prospect, I mean, he would be ahead of Joe Alt for me. He would be a top 5 player.
Yeah. I mean, that's so fun fact. I was adamant that he was not coming out in this draft because I had him as my number 3 or number 2 player in 2025. I was like, this guy might be the number 1 pick next year. And then obviously he ends up coming out. So maybe to correct what I was saying, I don't think his foot speed is slow because obviously you have to be able to move fast enough to open up room on the inside, right? But it was the responsiveness that you were talking about. I didn't think that his kick slide was getting enough range, but I didn't see it fluid enough. I know that you kind of disagree with that, but I didn't see it fluid enough to be able to respond in time because it was essentially massive amounts of ground covered. So that was just going to be my little thing as to why I think it was probably also a combination of him being so new, so green to the position, or so green to, in like Division 1 action. But I did see it. That's like the main reason why I was a little bit concerned about him is those inside counters. But for the Colts, I'm running this up to the podium. I love Quinion Mitchell. I think that he'd be a great fit for the Colts. I think they need to get an alpha there in the secondary. And a true boundary corner that is not running in the 4.5s can be a massive asset. And he's like, you have some really good corners that are already there that just are not real alpha corners. I loved Jalen Jones last year. Obviously, they have Juju Brents there, but I think Quinion Mitchell is the one who belongs as a true corner 1. And he fits everything that Ballard would be looking for.
It's the perfect example of just everybody sliding down a peg to like their proper kind of place on a cornerback depth chart. Because they've added a lot of value in the later to mid rounds at corner, but when push comes to shove, like you need a number 1 guy.
Yeah. You think this is a good spot for the Bengals to move up for either DI or Brock Bowers? I hate seeing Brock on the board. I should have taken him probably for the Colts, but I'm a sucker for Quinion Mitchell to the Colts.
Yeah, I think. Like, why would the Seahawks not just take Johnny Newton though?
I know.
Thing like, if we're trading up for Johnny Newton, it's like I would just take Johnny Newton.
Yeah. Do you want to take him?
So the Seahawks, the thing with the Seahawks though is like, to me, there's one like first round tackle left, and they might need a replacement plan at right tackle. But they also need edge help, and I think I'm going to go with man, this is tough. The Seahawks are probably one of the toughest first round mock teams in my opinion.
They'd seem like a team that would go and get a former teammate of their last first round pick though, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, hey, let's go. The thing is though, I don't like, that's definitely what I would do. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Leatu Latu.
Okay. Ooh. I could see that happening. I'm curious because I've seen actually more of a push in prediction for the Seahawks going defensive interior. Granted, it's Byron Murphy, but I'm intrigued.
I think that it's not based on any inside info, but the people that are actually plugged in seem to be getting like early second, late first feedback on Johnny Newton, which I wholeheartedly disagree with.
Yeah.
I think he's a clear top 20 player, but if we're trying to balance prediction with what we would do, I think Leatu Latu is a good medium.
Sure. I did see on Johnny Newton's Twitter that he ended up saying that somebody told the NFL that he was hard to coach. That might be why.
Yeah, could be.
That makes sense. Okay, Jaguars at 17. Do you want to just light this fucking candle and see something crazy?
Let's do it.
I want to trade potentially with the San Francisco 49ers for Brock Bowers.
Oh,
you want to go crazy?
Let's do it.
I mean, that is
once again, they're odd picks, so you got it.
I've never done it before, but Brock Bowers has also never been here before. Does it make full sense for the Jaguars? Because I'm going to be looking for a wide receiver 1. You do have some really good weapons on the board. Maybe not, but I also feel comfortable if I don't get a good option there. In round 2, I could end up snagging Xavier Leggett if he ends up somehow getting there. But, there will be options that can suffice the wide receiver itch for the Jaguars. Well, you can also get a top end corner as the board progresses. So we also technically have Terry and Arnold on the board, but I think the Niners with 1 year left of George Kittle are going to be willing to sell the farm for this. And I feel like the Jaguars, it's never a bad idea to amass more draft capital. Nothing's going to affect the mock draft, so feel free to tweak the compensation yourself. But we're going to have the Niners move up to select Brock Bowers out of Georgia. That is ridiculous.
It's going to be
God
the
help me.
first team, if you count use check, it's going to be the first team to ever run over 50% 13 personnel.
Oh my God. You're right. That's going to be crazy. Use check, Bowers, and Kittle on the field at the same time. The
If you're
rich
a
get richer.
linebacker, you got 3 white dudes sprinting full speed at you every play.
That would be absolutely wild. And the thing is, all those linebackers and safeties would be, pancaked by the end of it too. So it's going to be a super season there. We're going to have to put Christian McCaffrey as the pure undisputed number 1 if that's the case.
At 18, it really sets up perfectly for me to finally go with Johnny Newton out of Illinois. I think, they need a replacement at 3 technique. I think that he's probably like a 5 to 10% worse athlete than Byron Murphy. I do think he's a little bit more developed with his hands as far as like having a diversity of moves. And, I didn't think his issues in the run game were as extreme as I know some other people do. So I'm a big fan of Newton.
Yeah, no, Johnny is a perfect example of prospect fatigue, in my opinion. If you just continue going back and rewatching him, he climbs up the board every time. So that just shows that, with distance, Johnny Newton just becomes less attractive to the mind, which at the end of the day, football is based on what you should like on the tape and not off of, what you think about it months later. So love Johnny Newton there. What do you think for the Bengals in terms of their right tackle situation though? Like, because I do know you liked Amarius Mims a lot. I'm curious why you went Newton over him.
Yeah, you could definitely make the argument for Mims there. I think that honestly, when you look at developmental tackles that could be available in the second round, I still think the options are more appealing than the other defensive linemen because you're looking at a lot of I think rotational type of guys, at least earlier, when it comes to Michael Hall, Mekhi Wingo, Braden Fisk, not really players that I think can hold up all 3 downs as rookies. So I just think positional scarcity leans me towards Newton.
I respect that. Opportunity cost, baby. What you give up in order to acquire. Pick 19 for the Rams. I don't see an option here that gets me super duper excited for them. And my number 3 player is on the board still, and Terrion Arnold. And I think I'm going to request this from you. You can veto it if you'd like. I would think that the Eagles would value Terrion Arnold, who brought him in on their last day. Would you do that trade for a 4th round pick?
Let's see. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay. Do I have to take Arnold though?
You don't have to. It would break my heart.
Wait, but no, it would be your pick then. So you can do whatever.
Pick.
Yeah. All right, I'll accept the trade. No, because you're odds.
Okay.
So yeah, it's your pick. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm curious. I'll still select Terrion Arnold here, but what would you do?
I would lean towards Nate Wiggins. I have them, one spot with one spot of difference between them. I think I feel more confident that Nate Wiggins is going to be an outside corner in the NFL.
Okay.
Where I really think that Arnold is going to be best in the slot.
Yeah.
But I don't, a lot of times if you talk about a corner moving to slot, it's viewed as a criticism. Yeah, and a lot of times it's as a result of a flaw of their game. But I mean, I view nickel as 95% as valuable as outside corner in today's NFL. Cause you got to have someone in the slot that can defend the run. That's what every running scheme is built on, attacking. Yeah. Half the time a team's best receivers lined up in the slot. So you need players that can play there, at a high level.
So here's my pitch for Terrion Arnold. Obviously I'm going to select him anyways, but I think when we factor in Howie's arrogance when it comes to not getting rid of Slay and Bradbury, the position that can carve out the most snaps, because you also have those younger guys like Rango and Ricks. I think the position that has the most opportunity, if you do select a round 1 corner, would be someone who has the ability to be a pure nickel/slot. And with Terrion Arnold being a former 5-star safety, I also trust him. against the run. So that's
he's a great run defender.
He is. So I will be going Terrian, who they brought in the last day, mainly because I'm a sucker for Terrian going to Philly. I would also like him to the Steelers, but that's a topic for another day. You're on the board.
So the Amarius Mims pairing with Broderick Jones is tempting.
Very.
And I think that is ultimately what I'm going to do, because you can move Broderick back to left tackle, put in Amarius Mims at right, and then you've got 2 5-star Georgia bookend tackles for the future.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of that one. Even though I might be lower on Amarius than some, if not most, I'm still a sucker for storylines, and that's one of the locations I think he would work. Pick 21 for the Dolphins. Hard to resist A.D. Mitchell, Brian Thomas, and Jared Verse. Very tough for me to tempt to go away from those three. Granted, deep down, I pray for the future of left tackle. Granted, I don't trust any of the left tackles that are available at this point. This would be a trade down spot if I don't take one of these guys. I do think deep down, I might want to make a move. And that move that I would make most likely would be with Jacksonville, because I want to say screw you to the Bills and screw you to the Chiefs. They don't get to choose between Brian Thomas and A.D. Mitchell. The Jaguars got to trade back and get their, flurry of draft capital. And I think they could end up moving back up and essentially having only a few spot move down. You cool with that?
I'm cool with that.
Okay. Now, technically, if you look at this in totality, I'm low-key fleecing the Jaguars of actually good draft capital here.
But we're filling in the blanks with the late round picks. Yeah.
Right. We're filling in the blanks. This is not a calculated approach. But essentially the Jaguars will be sending this to move up. Maybe they end up fleecing something in return, or maybe they fleece something next year. Whoop-de-doo. Who cares? It's not going to be part of the real draft. This is part of the mock draft. Feel free to tweak the draft picks on your own. But on the Jaguars move up, and I love A.D. Mitchell. At the same time, there are potential concerns over his personality, yada, yada. Whether you factor that in or not, it's up to you. I do think the NFL cares about personality. That's why George Pickens was an issue, but George Pickens had other issues. Brian Thomas is somebody that I think will give Trevor Lawrence the potential to be his best self. And he's not an alpha. He's apparently more of a beta type, but whenever guys just put their head down and go to work and don't become the focal point, I think I'm fine taking a chance on that. Did have some potential shoulder injury concerns that popped up, but we'll see if that's empirical come draft day.
Yep. It's another position where I've got Brian Thomas Jr. at 15 on my board, A.D. Mitchell at 16. And it's really just the tiebreaker was I have fewer personality concerns with Thomas.
Right. Right.
For the Rams,
I have Mitchell at 16 as well. I just checked.
For the Rams, I think this is where I would go Nate Wiggins.
Okay.
And just get a true number one guy on the outside. Another team kind of similar to the Colts, where they've survived with some
mediocrity,
subpar talent and kind of just squeeze the most out of it. But if you can have a guy that can lock down a team's number one receiver, I think that's valuable.
I agree. So my big concern with Nate came down to the fact that I didn't like how he didn't approach the box. I didn't see him very often try to come and help out. Outside the box, he was perfectly fine making tackles, yada, yada. But I didn't really see him eager to assist between the tackles, or at least near the line of scrimmage. Did you see that issue potentially?
Yeah. I mean, he's got limitations in the run game. I think my biggest issue with his run defense is just I felt like he was competitive fighting with blocks on the outside, but I think at his size, if he gets matched up with a bigger player, they just are going to widen him out to the sideline. I think in the Rams scheme, he's going to be playing so much off quarters that there will be a lot of times he's not even in the run fit. So he's just going to be like, hey, we didn't come here to play run defense type of corner, you know?
I can see the logic in that. At pick 23 for the Patriots, we got Olu Fashanu earlier on. I'm going to just get the team's number one receiver and AD Mitchell here. We end up getting both our star left tackle and star receiver with these 2 picks. I feel like that is pretty damn solid, if you ask me.
I love that draft for the Patriots. Yeah.
So I am curious. You did say if you didn't love quarterback, it wouldn't make sense, or if you loved quarterback, you wouldn't trade back to basically get Drake May or Michael Penix. Do you think it's potentially logical come, let's just say, Baltimore sitting there at 30, and again, this is not a trade right now, but if, Bo Nix and Michael Penix are there, do you think it would be logical to just send a little bit of draft capital to take a swing on an upgrade and get that 5th-year contract potential as well?
Depending how much draft capital, I would consider it for Bo Nix.
Yes.
Trading up to 31. I do think, though, like, I still would prefer to just, like, if we're going to commit, if we're not going to take a quarterback at the top of this draft, let's just commit to, like, stocking up talent and assume that we're going to be here next year, which, like, you can't always do. But I don't know. Like, I think that I think Carson Beck is intriguing for next year. I don't have super hard set evaluations on the next year's quarterbacks, but players pop up all the time. So I don't, that wouldn't really be something that factored into it. It's like looking ahead to next year's class. But yeah, I mean, if it didn't cost too much, I wouldn't hate moving into the back end of the first round.
Would you send a 4th-round pick for it?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's the proper compensation to move from what was like 35 or 36 up to
there's 35 actually. So I would probably do that.
Okay, cool. That might be something I'll offer you come 30, but regardless, you're on the board with the Dallas Cowboys.
So the Dallas Cowboys could take Graham Barton and play him at center.
Yep.
You could take a corner.
The disappointment.
Yeah, man.
You didn't like that.
Really dried up.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know that first round center is like heading into the draft where if I'm the Cowboys, I'm not like, we're going to get our center this first round. But the way that everything's fell, I think that's the best option. So we're taking Graham Barton, moving him to center.
Okay. Do you have a first round grade on either Barton or Jackson Powers-Johnson or both?
Yeah, so I have a late first on Graham Barton and an early second on Jackson Powers-Johnson. Okay. They're both top 32 players, though.
Oh, really? Okay. So I'm a little bit lower on both of them, technically. Both of them are top 64 on my board. Jackson Powers-Johnson's a top 40 guy for me. I just need to... Graham Barton's been someone who I've adored for an extensive period of time, and he has progressed. I just didn't see the progression enough for me to fall in love with him because he'd have to essentially be a transition from what I was watching to the interior. But I mean, obviously it makes more sense for Duke to have played him at left tackle than to let him truly develop as an interior. But the Cowboys, I mean, Graham Barton, that makes complete sense because he can play. If you even find a good center later on, you could end up kicking him to guard as well, and he could be damn successful. But at 25 for the Packers, do I have to say it? I mean, if Cooper DeJean's here, you just got to pull the trigger. I mean, he's a
exciting whites.
I know. He's an enforcer. I mean, if I were to be able to pull a curveball here, because I do think this corner class does have some very talented players. Green Bay has a lot of draft capital. I do think this could be the spot where we see somebody like Edgerrin Cooper pop up and surprise us. What are your thoughts on him being like one of the linebackers sneaking into one?
I could definitely see it with Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, I have him at 34 on my board. I'm a big fan of his game.
Where do you go?
I think that even though Junior Colson is like firmly a 2nd to 3rd round type of guy for me, I could see him going a lot higher just because he's one of the few players that actually did NFL linebacker stuff on their college tape. And like,
true.
there might be a little bit a kind of limited ceiling, but
Mm.
he is definitely the highest floor linebacker of these top guys. So I could see him going higher, probably not in the first round, but like top of the second round.
You know what? I'm so tired of taking Cooper DeJean, and Edgerrin Cooper's my 26th player right now. Just I don't know why when I rewatched him, there was something different that hit me, and that's why I always like to continue rewatching players, even if I've already watched them. Is just you never let your memories guide your honest opinion,
Mhm.
and I think the team to do it is the Green Bay Packers. They've shown the capacity for a first round linebacker in the past, and we called them idiots for going Quay Walker. I mean, you could, your opinion matters to you, cool beans. But the fact is, they have the capacity for it, and Quay Walker's still there, and he's still starting.
Marcus Whitman is dying right now.
I know, dude. I know Marcus is turning over in his grave, but Edgerrin Cooper has the capacity to be one of the most electric linebackers, and for me, I could see that ending up being empirical.
Yeah, don't hate that at all.
Yeah.
For the Bucks at 26, this is an easy pick for me to go with Jared Verse. They've had such great luck with late first round edge rushers, but unfortunately, that's just where they're going to have to keep taking swings. And I think Jared Verse is a lot less of a projection than some of the other guys that they've taken. He's more of a high floor, low ceiling guy.
I respect that. I mean, Jared Verse is a top 20 player on my board. I like him a lot. It's just, tell me your thoughts on this. I think that the value of a true number one edge rusher has just dropped a lot because we've had so many really good edge rushing classes that you really have to have a massive need for a top edge rusher in order to really value it above other positions that have similar value. Like there's just not many teams that are going to.
I remember when you came on my channel, we were like looking through the first round and like how there's just not that many teams that have a pressing need at edge rusher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think the value has decreased in terms of like how important it is to winning football games, but the
like
value just as far as scarcity,
yes.
Is a little bit down.
Well put. Good job for rephrasing that because that's exactly what I meant. Pick 27 for the Cardinals. So Cooper DeJean's here. I don't know if Gannon could pass on a player with so much untapped potential. I don't think he's a slot. I think that he's a little too stiff to be a slot. I think he's a boundary or a safety. And luckily, I think he could be very successful at both. And I trust that Gannon can give him the most opportunities for success. That being said, I also believe in Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he is coming off of a surgery for a Jones fracture. You could also make the argument he played well with a Jones fracture. Screw you too, buddy. We're going to be going Cooper DeJean here.
We got the Bills at 28, and
I would have loved to give you
love A.D. Mitchell or Brian Thomas to fall here.
Yep. Not going to happen on my watch.
The problem with the Bills is like a lot of the simulations and like mock drafts that you run, you end up in this situation where it's like Xavier Worthy and Ladd McConkey are the two available receivers.
Right.
And I'm fine with them at 28 in a vacuum, but they have so many slot receivers. And then you add in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox that are going to take up snaps in the slot. It's like, I don't know, man. Adding Xavier Worthy, like another player that might have to be in the slot, I feel like you might end up with a logjam. So
I was going to bring up
where I'm going to think about a trade back, actually.
Okay, nice. I know I've been doing all the trade backs in this one.
I'm going to join in on these trades here.
Join in on the party.
All right, let's look at.
So, what players do you think would be worth moving up for? Like you got Kool-Aid. Like I don't know what your exact board is. Like who are your top guys on your board right now?
So top available players are Bo Nix, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Darius Robinson, and Xavier Worthy. Those are my top four.
Nice. Okay. And based on scarcity,
the NFL draft order really quick.
Yeah.
To see who's at the. All right. So we got teams in the top of the second round that could trade up. This could be the New England spot, but not in a trade in division.
We could. I mean, it has happened very recently, but I just haven't seen one in division for a quarterback.
I don't think that. Yeah, they wouldn't do it for a
that's
quarterback.
the caveat, but yeah.
So like where I see the scarcity as far as available players would be offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Guyton.
Yeah, because it's like Guyton, I feel like is a comfortable amount above like Roger Rosengarten and Kieran Amagaji.
Yes.
So a team that needed a tackle, let's trade up with Washington.
I was going to suggest, Washington is the dream spot.
Yeah. Let's have Washington trade up with the Bills and take Tyler Guyton.
We'll just project that would be pick 100. Maybe it'll be pick 139. Who cares? At the end of the day, doesn't affect the mock draft. They're going Tyler Guyton?
Yep.
All right. What do you think of Blake Fisher? I'm curious.
Blake. So Blake Fisher showed a lot of really good things. Like I thought his tape was a little bit up and down, but like he has the high end traits for sure.
Yeah.
He's got long arms. I feel like there's a lot of nuanced hand usage where he can like flash the outside hand, bait out moves, and then protect the corner. There are times that he's really firm with his punch and powerful into contact in the run game.
Yep.
I feel like he's still a little bit developmental in the sense like sometimes he will be over aggressive with his set and give up the corner. I think he has the play strength to have a solid anchor, but he isn't always square with his feet when he sets it. And so like he will get walked back into the pocket a lot more than I feel like he should. So it's just like the pass pro is just a little bit erratic at times, but when you get into mid second round, I'm definitely good with Blake Fisher. I've got him 68 on my board. So
okay. Cool. I mean, I'm a Blake Fisher guy, but I mean the criticisms are completely accurate. We're in a very talented class to where the difference between someone who could be top 45 versus someone who's top 70 pretty much has the same pluses and minuses. It just depends on how big of a plus and how big of a minus it is, and then the opinions on the guys in between. But at pick 29 for the Lions, I really want to go Kool-Aid, but I feel like there's just been this trend set by Kansas City that you draft a player who is good, who's in a position that you are looking for in your home city, from your home city, at the draft that is in your home city. And that's going to be Darius Robinson. I don't really trust the longer-term plan with Davenport there. This is going to be someone who is a longer-term starter there for sure. But, I mean, I do feel like it could be a little bit of an overlap there with Josh Paschal. Both those guys relatively large, a little bit of tweeners. But Darius Robinson showed out at the Senior Bowl and showed that he can really at least bring a physical presence. And sometimes that's all you need when you have Aiden Hutchinson on the other side.
Yeah, you basically can't do a first-round mock without Darius Robinson since he accepted his invite. And it's like, yeah, he clearly knows.
Levis.
Either that, but it was so much fewer, such a smaller list this year. I feel like he's been told, or maybe he just wants to hang out
in the city. Yeah, he's like, man, I don't care about my friends. I just want to go and be in the draft room. That'd be so fun, dude. But regardless, you are here at pick 30. I am going to offer the trade up with the Patriots.
Yeah. Let's trade up with the Patriots and take Bo Nix.
Yes, sir. See, that was my plan the whole time. Was like, depending on who would be there at 23, I was actually playing another trade back to be able to be at the end of this round, end of this territory. So I would just, potentially send 103, get back like 165. I don't know. The trade compensation may be 137, but again, doesn't affect the mock draft. The Patriots move up and select Bo Nix. So they go 3 first-round players, but They get Bo Nix, A.D. Mitchell, and Olu Fashanu. I feel like that offense is actually, for once in a great long while, revitalized. What do you think about that?
I would love that haul for the Patriots. Yeah, they would definitely be one of the winners, at least from day one.
So if the draft fell out like that and you had to end up giving them a letter grade, being a tough cookie as we are, what would you give them?
I would probably give them a B plus. You
Okay.
know, I think like I am when I do my draft grades, I am a really tough grader where
I
I try
can
to
see
keep it
that.
with a C average.
Okay.
Um,
That's what
like
I do with my
I
grading
will
too.
actually like average it out and see what the GPA for the entire draft is. But yeah, I would probably say like B plus. There is some risk with AD Mitchell. Bo
Sure.
Nix is obviously not a sure thing, and
Mhm.
they've gone. I do really like Bo Nix, and I have him 26 on my board, but
Yep.
um, they've gone a similar route before with Mac Jones, and it didn't work out. So, I
Yeah.
would get being a little hesitant about that, but I still think overall, like I like every player that they added.
Okay. So pick 31. Curious what you would do here for the Dolphins. Like, obviously, Jackson Powers Johnson is available. Could certainly help out the interior of the offensive line there. I know they already acquired center in free agency, but you know, what would you think about as the best option for them based on the guys available?
So I think just matching up need and like how good the players are, Jackson Powers Johnson makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's the best scheme fit,
Mhm.
for an outside zone scheme.
Okay.
I mean, like you can't go Xavier Worthy.
No. I mean, you can. We traded
I
back,
mean, you
right?
can, but
We got a
I
second
don't
round
know.
pick out of it.
I would honestly, it's not my pick, but what
Mm.
I would do is Christian Haynes.
Ooh. Okay. So I have a big concern with Christian Haynes' anchor. What do you think about
Really?
that? I see him get driven back. I mean, at the Senior Bowl, there were like sure there's certain reps where he had like some good reps there, but I mean, this guy cannot hold his ground. And I was a sucker for Christian Haynes. He was top 10 on my board starting the year. So we'll get that out of the way. I definitely have a pro Christian Haynes bias here, but this man gets backed up too easily, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like he doesn't have a great like initial resistance to power, but I think
Okay.
he does a really good job of hop stepping and setting his anchor
Okay.
as the play progresses.
Sure.
And I think with the Dolphins, like they they don't put their offensive linemen in compromising situations as pass
Mhm.
blockers. Like I remember I was doing a film breakdown of Robert Hunt when he signed with the
Panthers. Yeah.
Commanders or
Was it the
Panthers.
Panthers? Yeah.
Um,
Panthers.
and I was looking through O line stats and like the leaders in pressure rate, sack rate, everything was just all Dolphins offensive linemen because like you got quick time to throw. You've got a ton of like, there's not really a lot of
Mm.
traditional pass sets. And it's like, you know what, by the time Christian Haynes' anchor might eventually dissipate, Tua will have gotten rid of the ball on a in breaker to Tyreek Hill. It's like
So
with what I want with pass pro is like for the Dolphins is can you avoid those quick losses and like can you
mm,
mirror people,
mm,
gap shooters and stuff like that, and then he
right.
can do everything they need him to do in the run game. So that's what I would do.
Okay. I respect that logic. So recently we've been consistently saying for the Dolphins to get offensive line early. They've been more resistant to it. Do you think that's the reason why is because they set up their offensive lineman for success and maybe don't need that elongated success and they just need somebody to not be a tomato can?
Yeah, the Dolphins. I mean, there is no scheme in the NFL that protects their offensive line more than the Dolphins. It's like it's why Austin Jackson is like not a great pass protector, but he got a big deal because it's like they don't need him to be, and he
Hmm.
mauls people in the run game.
You know
Um,
what?
so
Interesting.
yeah, they kind
Because
of
you
just
said
they kind
that,
of pieced it together.
yeah, because you said that, I think I'm gonna lean on realism here. If that system, if what you say is true, which I trust you on this one, because I mean, and the data speaks to it as well. I think that they're not going to go offensive line early, and I think that they actually would love to have a contingency plan for Tyreek Hill. I am going to go Xavier Worthy. Call me a psycho, but I do think that speed kills, and Tyreek did say that he wants to quit after his last year of his contract. So they at least know it's coming.
That would be crazy to watch. Yeah. Like I would be so excited to see that just as a neutral observer.
Neutral observer.
So Chiefs at 32.
Yeah.
Like receiver seems like it has to be the choice, especially with the Rashee Rice stuff. And when you get to the end of the first round, it's like I don't love I have Loud McConkey as my 33rd overall player, but even taking him at 32 or 33, it's like I feel like I don't love it because I wish it was bigger. But I will go Loud McConkey because I think that's the best player available. Assuming that they're not going like a corner or something.
I earned a reward. The hell? I never knew I earned a reward. Awesome. Well, that is going to be the draft, everybody. James, thank you so much for coming on. Let the people know where to find you on Twitter as well as everywhere else.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, A to Z Sports Film Room, and you can follow me on Twitter at NoFlagsFilm.
So thank you, James, for coming on. Obviously, your insight is invaluable. That's why I definitely wanted to make sure that we got to both have a showing on each other's show because your IQ, phenomenal. Obviously, it's fun to be able to do mock drafts with you. So thank you so much for coming on, and thank y'all for watching. We love y'all. See you on the far side.